You know what wipes out first mover advantage? Dramatically superior customer experience. If you can deliver a dramatically experienced customer experience. And how do you deliver a dramatically experienced customer experience, gentlemen? You remove the
friction.
And that is a dramatically superior customer experience.
Welcome to Todd Liles and the Wizard of Ads. I'm Todd Liles, and in the home services business, it's possible to be busy all the time and still feel like the business is harder than it ought to be. The phones ring, the trucks stay moving, and everybody's working, but somehow the numbers still don't quite reflect the effort. And profit stays tight, growth feels heavier than it should be, and too much of your opportunity that you've worked hard to create never really turns into what it could have been. That's the kind of problem that I have spent my career helping companies solve. I've been a technician, a manager, a trainer, and a contractor. And in 2010, I started Service Excellence to help residential HVAC, plumbing, and electrical companies become stronger, more consistent, and more profitable without losing what makes them good in the first place. I'm also a partner at the Wizard of Ads, so I get to see both sides of it. What it takes to make the phone ring, and what it takes to actually deliver a sale from it. And the truth is this, getting the lead is only part of it. What you do before and afterwards is what really shapes the business, and that's what we are here to talk about. With me in all episodes, as always, is Roy H. Williams, the Wizard of Ads himself, New York Times bestselling author, the founder of the Wizard Academy, and the man who taught me that the message matters more than the medium.
Advertising is a tax you pay for not being remarkable. Welcome to Todd Liles and the Wizard of Ads, a podcast for business owners who want to become remarkable. Taco Tuesday, Todd Liles is going to take you deep into the mind of Roy H. Williams, the Wizard of Ads, to unleash the timeless truths and secret strategies that have helped him build dozens of America's most successful businesses. Do you want to build a brand that wins the heart, captures the mind, and creates lasting relationships? Take a deep breath and buckle up. It's time to fly.
This is our final episode in our 4-part series where we're joined once more by Charlie Moger, Wizard of Ads partner. Now, over the last 3 episodes, Charlie showed us how to build a coherent funnel, how to evolve a brand without losing the soul, and what it costs to be ordinary. Now, today, he's bringing it all home to the customer's front door. And the question that he's asking is the one that changes everything, which is, where does it hurt? I'm going to kick this off by reading something to the audience that I read to Charlie and to Roy, okay? Tell me if this sounds familiar. Family owned and operated since 1987. Our award-winning technicians provide expert service with a smile. Call now for your free estimate. That's the most ad that contractors run. And here's the problem. Nobody cares. Not because the company isn't good. They probably are. But the customer sitting in a house that's 94 degrees at midnight in July doesn't care about your rewards. She cares about one thing. The AC doesn't cool. So we're going to talk to Charlie about how you've probably been beating the wrong drum. And as you listen to this, I want you to stop talking about yourself when you think about your ads. And I want you to start talking about the moment that the customer realizes that they need you. Now, Charlie calls these moments category entry points. And I think this might be the most important idea in the whole series. So let's get into it. So Roy and Charlie, let me read you something, okay? Tell me if this sounds familiar to you. Family owned and operated since 1987. Our award-winning technicians provide expert service with a smile. Call now for your free estimate. What do you think? Have you heard
Fast,
that?
fair, and friendly service.
Open Sunday, plenty of free parking.
Have you heard this before?
Yeah.
Does it work? It works, right? This is like a really good ad.
No.
Well, only if you're making fun of them.
Only if you're making fun of them. Today's episode is about where does it hurt, baby? That's your quote. I like that, Charlie. That's good. Speak to the customer, but not about yourself.
Right.
So let's jump straight into that. What is fundamentally bad about that type of ad, Charlie?
It's about you.
Yeah.
I don't care. You know, I care about me, right? A customer doesn't care about you until you're talking about something that matters to them. Mm-hmm. That is a product-oriented message and not a market-oriented message. And it means nothing to the customer because it doesn't speak to the customer's life or their experience.
Yeah.
And if you want them to care about you, you better care about them first, or at least relate to them in some way that says, yeah, that's me. That's what's going on in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't talk about, we'll come and put a water heater in super fast.
Because it's boring.
Right. But it says, that cold shower you took this morning, we can fix that today. That's a whole different deal.
That's interesting. Roy, you've always taught that the customer's only question is what's in it for me. Charlie is taking that a little bit further, I think, when he's saying don't just answer the question, but build your entire message around that moment that it gets asked. Now, let me be clear. I'm making a statement like you're taking a little bit forward in this statement, but y'all both agree with those same things, right?
I assume so. Do you agree with that?
I think so, right?
I don't want to speak for Roy.
Well, but let's not speak for him. How would you frame it, Roy?
I'm going to take a step back. We talk a lot about being the person the customer thinks of first and feels the best about whenever they finally need what it is you sell. And to make them like you and to prefer you and to consider you their preferred provider in your category. And then you have to win their heart and then wait for them to need you.
Yes.
You have to wait for them to need you, but making them prefer you. And so you actually bond with people when what you believe is also what they believe.
Right.
And the way you see the world is also how they see the world. And the reason you do what you do, they get that. And they go, yes, I can respect a person who does what they do for that reason. That reason makes sense to me. And if I was in that business, that's probably what I would do. And so when they have a sense of connection to you, that you believe in the things they believe in, and you stand for the things that they believe need to be stood for. Now, the real fact is, all plumbers have access to pretty much all the same hot water heaters. And you know what? They all know how to hook them up and keep them from leaking. And different people charge different prices. They have different amounts of speed of delivery and there's different warranties and all. But ultimately, people in their heart believe plumbers are kind of interchangeable. If you think about price primarily, then you find the cheapest one. But if you're trying to decide who you want to let in your house, I'm going to open the door to a stranger, and where do I want them to be from, and what do I want to know for sure about this person I'm opening the door to? Well, if he works for that guy, I know that guy, and I think I understand the company that he would run. See what I mean? So the belief in the company comes from a people's resonance with what it is you say and how you say it and how often you say it. And to make your belief systems and your values and your priorities clear to people, not because you stated them, but because they saw you be that. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense. And when we were visiting prior, Charlie, you pulled a quote from Roy, which was, speak to the dog in the language of the dog.
Right, because as we learned that Pavlov was the original brander, right? Because he didn't, if his experiment with the dog and the bell involved gefilte fish, it probably would not have been successful, right? he used meat because that's what you talk to the dog about, what's in the heart of the dog, in the language of the dog, and that's the very fundamental of it. And in this case, category entry points are that language. A category entry point is that moment of animation where as Roy says, I need you now. And if you are known for that category entry point, you will be the one that comes to mind first.
Yeah, for sure. You did something naturally a few moments ago where you took it from we'll install your water heater to actually making it matter to me. I want to just rewind for a moment to this really bad, very boring ad. And I'm going to float it out here for both of y'all. I want the audience to see what creative minds can do. And let's imagine that it's not an ad anymore. But they brought it to you and said, well, these are the ads we've been running. And I'll be the son of the owner. And I go, and you say, what are some things that you're really proud of? And go, well, we're really proud that we're family owned and operated since 1987. Oh, yeah. But you'd probably go, well, what does that mean, right? It's like, well, and I might tell you a story about my dad when I was growing up with him. And then you go, well, our technicians are award winning. They provide expert service with a smile. And you go, well, yeah, what does that really mean? Well, now I'm going to tell you 2 or 3 stories about a time that a tech went out on a Saturday night and it was freezing cold and the roads were slippery, but Mrs. Smith didn't have any heat, and he went over there, and he's so happy that she did because she had MS. It would have made her really sick. And he told me this story, my technician, and boy, he's crying when he's talking about how Mrs. Smith told him how much he cared. And then we go over here and say, we give you free estimates. And you go, well, why? And I go, well, my dad started that a long time ago because he had this real strong belief that we should earn people's business. And if they don't like what we have to say, they shouldn't owe us anything. So if I start telling you those things, could you lift this incredibly boring ad into something elevated?
Of course. Remember, the Uncover is all about probing for stories that will resonate with people, stories that are true, and that then, when you have told these stories, you have to be the company that you're pretending to be. You have to deliver this belief system that you say you stand for. Because remember, good ads cannot make a badly run company successful. Mm-hmm. This is why I value our partnership with you, because as the owner of Service Excellence, see, the one thing that Wizard of Ads partners don't do is we don't do operational consulting. We don't get involved with anything other than the outside world. And if you're not doing a good job on the world inside your company, we're screwed. You cannot be hugely successful unless you know how to be the company that we're saying you are. And so if there's a gap, the owner of a company very often will tell you the truth, and you build this powerful campaign around the beliefs of the owner. But if the owner is not capable of transferring those beliefs in actionable ways so that his people are behaving and being the company that he wants them to be, if they're not doing that, our ads won't work. And this is what nobody gets. And they go, well, you're real creative. It doesn't have crap to do with the creativity. The creative part is figuring out what can we count on you to actually deliver consistently, because that's the only thing we can safely promise. So if you're not special, I don't want to work with you. If you don't have deep beliefs, I don't want to work with you. This is why I do not work with companies owned by private equity, because they don't have deep beliefs except in extracting the largest possible money from people in the shortest amount of time. And I'm going, I can't sell that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I want to ask you too this question, and this is just from our experience. It may not be true in every company, but inside of a company where you have an owner that's saying, I really believe these things. And most times I believe in the heart of the heart they actually do. And then you have these technicians where you're going, I want these technicians to believe these things and execute these things as well, right? Do y'all know where, from my experience, that I've seen the most breakdown of the owner's belief becoming a reality?
Yeah, tell me, please.
I will, but do you have a guess, Charlie? We have figured this out to be the hinge point of success for a lot of companies.
I'm coming up
This
dry.
is outside my world.
I'm gonna share it with you then, because half the time when people call us, it's business owners, and they've got these things that they want to do, and we'll say, "Tell us about your techs," and they tell us about their techs, and technicians are technicians, and I believe that most technicians want to do a great job. Some want to be salespeople, but most really don't.
Right.
They want to go in, fix something, make someone happy, use their technical skills, not make people feel under pressure. They don't want to feel under pressure. And then in between that technician, where this owner's trying to drive this vision down, and it's not even that they're usually opposed to the vision, it's that it makes them uncomfortable. I've got to learn a new brandable chunk or a principle or a script that makes me really uncomfortable. The problem or the hinge point, whether it's going to fail or not, isn't in the owner, isn't in the technician. It's usually right here in the manager that's in between. And when we are working with businesses, we always ask, who is your implementer? Who's the manager? Who's the person that's going to be in the room, and when the camera comes off and the message ends, they pick the message up and go, let's keep this going, fellas. And they reinforce it and they talk about it the days that we're not there. Who is that person? Well, here's that person. Does this person believe in your story as much as you? Well, I'm trying to convince them that ain't the person. Because if we have a bought-in manager, for the sake of example, like at the Gentleman Plumbers, Trevor, totally bought in. He's been there 10 years. I think he celebrated his anniversary 10 years last year. Totally bought in. We can implement something with Trevor. Trevor's going to take it and he's going to make it come to life. Steve's Plumbing in Seattle. He's got Phil. Phil's been there, I don't even know how long. Phil's been there as long as I've been there. Like, I can remember when it was Steve and Phil and Rachel at one point. Now he's the GM. Phil believes. Phil's going to drive it through, right? So, and I'm just talking to you business owners. If you're sometimes looking around going, why isn't my dream becoming a reality? Oftentimes, I'd be willing to bet you it's probably not your technicians. It's probably your managers.
I have seen that play out again and again. And I've seen it in places where all the messaging is right, the media is right, everything is firing on every cylinder, but it's not showing up. We're not seeing the lift on it. And it is, and I concur that there is a breakdown between that owner and the technician in the field, or the technician in the field has seen it before and we're the flavor of the week. And they're like,
yep,
I'm not buying in. And when you don't get that buy-in all the way down, yeah, it's death.
Well, it's very common for technicians to be resistant to change in education because they're humans, and most of them didn't like school in the first place. And we're like, hey, we totally get that. We've been working with technicians for a long time. We know how to bond with them because we just come from that background. Like, we really, 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 really get that. But we also know it's behavior change. And it's not undifferent than a great ad. You got to hit them in their heart. You got to really make it more about how this is going to actually make Mrs. Smith happier in the long run. It ain't about money.
Right.
And by the way, the greatest service approaches aren't about money. Money's just a byproduct of it, right? It's about a diagnostic that finds all the problems all the way so that when you address it, you can address it one time. And until the situation changes, you've actually covered all the bases. But now if that's the case, what you're doing is have a lot of old habits, and you've got to get repetition until it becomes a behavior. And the behaviors in companies are driven by the managers that are executing the vision of the business owner.
I had a client who, for purposes of confidentiality of the relationship, I will just tell you, is in a pretty substantial size market that wound up selling to PE. But he came in to run this company for the father of the owner. He was married to the daughter. He came in, started running the business, and he came in and ran those sales meetings. I remember Tom Wainick and Jeff Sexton were with me watching him run this meeting, and we were like, this is the best sales meeting I've ever seen, because he had them all engaged. They were all making it happen. We put the ads on the air, and it just took off stratospheric, whatever. It went into space.
It went up.
He went up, right. And we've been doing this a while. My words are running out. Anyway, it took off in such a way that we had never seen that kind of lift that fast happen, because he was driving belief all the way down, and he was reinforcing it. And we were talking about his belief on the radio and television. So to support your point, I've seen that happen. And I've also seen it come crashing down the moment it got sold.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. If we were jumping back on the topic, one of the things that you have a buzzword for, it's not, let me be clear. Brian Sharp. It's
Byron Sharp. Yeah.
Byron Sharp. Sorry.
Yeah.
Category entry points, right?
Yeah.
So what is a category entry point? And I'm not asking a rhetorical question at this point. I don't know.
It's that moment of animation where what is, I mean, it's when you go from out of market into market, right? I'm Charlie Homeowner, and I get up and all I have is cold water. Now I'm Charlie Moger, hot water heater neater, right? Now I'm that guy.
I see.
My category entry point is that water heater.
I got it.
It is like that.
It's the moment of need.
That's the moment of need.
Moment of want.
That's what a category entry point is.
Okay, good. I didn't know what that was. Now that I understand, I got it. And Roy, back to Charlie's point about you talking about Pavlov teaching about associating a ball with a response. Charlie's saying the bell is the buying situation. That's the category entry point. Is that right? Is that is it not necessarily?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's a trigger.
The language of the dog is the meat.
Right.
So the dog likes meat. If the dog didn't like meat, he wouldn't salivate when they rang the bell.
Sure. So the language of the homeowner is they like to be cool, not hot.
No.
No? Oh, well, help me understand.
All right. It depends on if you want to reduce it down to its fundamental lowest common denominator. Tired of being hot, I want the house to be cool again. The air conditioner's broken. The air conditioner needs to be fixed. But that's not why they choose your company.
No. That's just the trigger moment.
Exactly. There's really only people are going to object to this, but I don't care. There's really only two things that differentiate companies. They're either this or they're that. Okay? That's it. So either it's the price that differentiates your company from others and the fact that you're the lowest, you're the cheapest, okay? You will attract the transactional buyer who believes everybody in your category is interchangeable, and they're going to buy from the lowest quote, lowest price, biggest discount, some language of transaction. Okay, we never work with those companies. And I have a reason for never, ever, ever, ever working with those companies. Number one, it is not actually mathematically possible to deliver a really extraordinary customer experience when you're the low-cost provider. You also can't have a really strong warranty when you're a low-cost provider. You cannot fund meaningful marketing efforts when you're the low-cost provider. You just can't. Now, when a person is charging more, but they're also delivering, if it's not cost, what is it? A frictionless experience. Remove the friction, remove the friction, remove the friction, remove the friction. If it is so, this is what made Dewey Jenkins successful. Dewey understood anything that causes the customer to pause or need to think about it or wrestle with a decision, let's eliminate that. We don't want to ever introduce the moment where it becomes awkward and they need to think about it. We just want to make it so astoundingly easy, so unbelievably frictionless, no friction. And so before I came over here, I spent the morning with Elmer. We were in his new business he started. We started talking about all the different friction that we can remove, that nobody in that category has ever removed any of that friction. And when I showed him how easy it can be, he was going, oh my gosh, people are going to lose their mind. They're just going to think this is obviously the people we need to use. And I'm going, yeah, no kidding, right? Because nobody's going to be willing to match what we're going to be able to do. They're just don't have the courage to do it. And he goes, how's anybody going to compete with us? I said, they're really not. And so this is strategy. We're having a strategy conversation, and the whole thing was, of course, he's going to be more expensive than other people in the category. But it is so much easier to get your problem solved. Your problem disappears. There's no question about it. Here's how it works. Here's all the things you don't have to do. The things you don't have to do. You're going, wow, I thought those things were actually required. I thought you had to get 3 estimates. It's a roofing company. Thought you had. No, you don't. Did you know that's not true? You don't have to get 3 estimates. You don't.
No.
You're talking about for insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the only thing you have to do? If the roofer meets with the insurance company adjuster on the job site, and the insurance company adjuster says, yeah, I agree with you, and yeah, that's a good price. As a matter of fact, you let the insurance company adjuster, you go over the damage together, and you let him name the price. Believe it or not, if you meet with the adjuster, now wait a minute, what are we taking out of that equation? It's one of the many things we're doing. You don't have to call your insurance company. We will. We will meet with the insurance adjuster and re-roof your house for the price they say they will cover.
That's taking friction out.
Now, that's one of about 7 things we're doing. And so all of a sudden, you don't have to get 3 estimates and then go with the lowest estimate and pay this deductible. I've seen this done in auto body repair one time, and it made this guy a monster king 40 years ago. He's retired now. He's been retired for 20 years. But when you're in a car wreck, you know what he would do? Guy's a genius. Very first client I ever had. First client I ever had. I was 20 years old. When you had a wreck, you called him. Don't call the insurance company. Call him. 30 minutes later, a wrecker is going to hook up to your car, and following the wrecker is a loaner car for you to drive. Until your car is repaired, you get that loaner car, no questions asked. You don't pay for the wrecker. We're going to haul your car to our shop. We are going to call your insurance company. They're going to send out an adjuster. We're going to look at it together, and I'm going to fix it for the price they're willing to pay. You don't pay a deductible. I'm just going to fix your car for the price that your insurance company says they're willing to pay. And by the way, you drive the loaner car until your car's ready to go. And you know what? We have the sander out. We have the body plastic out. We've mixed up the paint to match perfectly. There was some other stuff like that wasn't part of the wreck. Little dings here and scratches and stuff there. It just takes a few more minutes to straighten out some of those other. You're going to get the car back way more beautiful than before the wreck. Because we're going to fix some other stuff that wasn't part of the wreck because it only takes a few more minutes. Mm-hmm. No extra charge. And so people were going, so wait a minute. I don't have to get any estimates. I don't have to talk to the insurance company. I don't have to call a wrecker. I don't have to arrange for a loaner car or a rental car of anything. It's like you just do all of that. So yeah, you wreck your car. You call me. We bring you a car to drive. Go on about your day. We'll meet with your insurance company. We'll repair it for the price they're willing to pay. And it's like, and people are going, make a note. Call that guy if I ever have a wreck. And people did. And it's like, it just became automatic. Mm-hmm. What? Any body shop is capable of doing that, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody else did, ever. But it works miraculously. Well, why? Why does it work? Removing all the friction. There's no decisions to be made. There's nothing you have to do. There's nothing you have to worry about. And he does it. He does it extremely competently. And he says insurance adjusters are not crooks. They're not criminals. They're not thieves. They're really solid guys. And if you know how to deal with these guys and you are an expert at looking at the same way they're going to look at it and you point out certain things, you have this discussion, they will always pay you plenty of money to fix the stupid car.
What did he not talk about one time? He didn't talk about media choice.
Right.
He didn't talk about radio ads, TV. He didn't talk about digital.
Message.
He was totally up here in the strategy. What do we want to do? And then everything else flowed from that. That is just perfect construction.
Yeah. So the strategy is this. Now, execution of the strategy, simplest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Once you have the strategy.
Exactly.
I believe I may misquote the source here, but I believe it was Reid Hoffman that I heard talk about this. Okay. He made a lot of money with PayPal, a lot of other things, created LinkedIn.
Right.
And I think it was Reid Hoffman's podcast, and I think he was the source of knowledge on this. But if it's not correct, that's not Reid Hoffman. It's directionally true. But the story that he told on his Founders podcast, which I think is called Scalable or something like that. I don't remember the exact. Forgive me of that. But I remember the story. The two founders of Airbnb, when they were itsy bitsy little, right? They're struggling. And they go to him and they're like, we really need to grow our business. What do we need to do? And he's like, tell me about your client experience. What's your client experience like? They're like, well, we don't really know. He's like, well, this is what you're going to go do. You're just in New York right now. You're going to go to everybody that has bought locally, and you're going to talk to them. And you're going to say, hey, what could we have done to get to a 5-star rating? And you're going to find that out. And then after you find that out, you're going to play another game, which is how can we get an 11-star rating? There is no 11-star rating. But you're going to play a game that goes, how do you get to 11-star rating? We're going to go from 5 to 6 to 7. We're going to go all the way up to 11. So he's talking to the two founders, and then they started just getting out a whiteboard, and they said, what could make this experience like that? Now, they did this a long time ago before Airbnb was anything other than just a thing in New York City. And they started just imagining, like, what could it ultimately be? And their ultimate imagination brought them to a point to where you go to your phone and you decide you want to book a vacation. And when you book that vacation, the taxi shows up, picks you up, takes you to the airport. It covered the taxi. It covered the airport. When you get to the airport, you skip all the lines. You go straight to your first class seat. You land. They pick you up at the airport. Your personal butler takes you to your home. They greet you there. They cook you a meal. They basically tuck you in. The next morning, they've got your whole adventure planned out. The surf instructor's there on the beach. They take you and your wife. And then this whole destination journey is just beginning to end. Ba, 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 ba. And they kept just cranking it up, right? Cranking it up. Eventually, one of the scenarios was then you go over to Cape Canaveral and you get on your rocket ship and they take you to your moon vacation and they bring you back, right? So like that would be an 11. That would be amazing. And I heard that podcast when that show first came out probably 6 years ago. And like, well, we can't do that, but what can we do? So they started doing the things that they could do, and then Airbnb blows up. Well, today, many of those experiences with Airbnb are true. Mm-hmm. Not only can you book your house experience, but you can hand select a local chef who will have prepared a meal for you in your home when you show up and will serve you. And you can pick your adventures. And they've added the chef portion of it. They've added the choose your adventure portion of it. They're layering on these dream experiences, and they're just doing the same. How do we make this frictionless? Like everybody wants to go on these destination trips, but they don't know how to shop for
Let's underscore the point that we're making. There's only two categories of businesses: the low-cost provider and the company who removes the most friction. Mm-hmm. The company that removes the most friction gets to make the most money. Mm-hmm. The company that removes the most friction gets to be the king of the category if they know how to package and communicate this frictionless experience. So creating the frictionless experience is essential. Delivering the frictionless experience is even more essential. And if you're doing those two things, then communicating the frictionless experience powerfully, convincingly, and efficiently, that's what good marketing people do. So I look for people. I cheat. I've always said I cheat. I look for the people that already have an amazing company, which is why I'm so affectionate of all of your clients, because they want to have an amazing company. That's why they hire Service Excellence. And I'm going, okay, so their people are being trained to deliver what the business owner wants to deliver. And I'm going, cool. Once they've done your stuff, then they're perfect for us to step in and go, okay, now that you're actually doing it and you know what you're doing and you're going to keep doing it, now that we can trust that you're going to keep being the company that we're going to say you are, we just need to figure out how much friction can we remove? Mm-hmm. And how can we communicate this frictionless experience? And the people who have figured out how to remove the most friction and make it easy to do business with them, they're always infinitely bigger than everyone else. These are the people that just explode upwards and have gigantic companies and sell for gigantic money. And how do I keep finding them? By just looking for them.
So watch this, Roy. Charlie, you're a NASCAR fan, right? Mm-hmm. And
I watch them. I watch for the crashes,
you were talking
like everybody else.
You were talking to me about drafting.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So, when someone drafts behind another car, they're removing friction.
Right.
See my segue?
Absolutely. That's absolutely what they're doing.
And it is. It's literally what they're doing. So, Charlie, bring the NASCAR metaphor that you and I were talking about on our prior phone conversation to this. And so, how do you draft behind a customer's mean or a customer's purpose so that you can start reducing friction in that way?
Well, let me try to do it in a way that kind of plays off what Roy was talking about, friction. When you put a message out there, it has to overcome the friction of everything else it's encountering, right? If I can put wrap my message in one of your beliefs so it's right behind you, I've removed that friction. I'm that much closer to being with you. Just as, there's an air pocket behind a race car, and that's what they're doing. They're kind of doing what Artemis did, right? They're kind of slingshotting. They use the gravity of the moon to slingshot. Well, the race car is using that air pocket, that vacuum behind the car to come up so that at that moment when they need, they can pop around and go. Well, what we're doing when we draft a message is we're coming up into something you already believe. Like, for instance, we used a client where they have a really deep Texas heritage, and they're in a place in Texas where that is very deeply felt, and we wrap them all up in that and made them a really integrated part of that culture, so that when you thought Texas, you thought them, and that drafted them into awareness for customers. For instance, we said, but let me back up a second and say this about that. You have to be careful with this technique that you're not too on the nose. And
How do you mean?
By on the
Obvious.
the nose, it's too obvious, right? You have to be subtle. We have there's a saying that you show, you don't tell. And when you're drafting, it's real easy to get into the tell part. Like we're just as proud as Texas. We got a Lone Star in our blood. That's on the nose. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So you do things that evoke it. You want your message, you want the listener, the viewer, to fill that blank in for you, because it's so obvious.
Don't say it, make the customer say it.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what the biggest nightmare, I think, that if you ask most people that went through a bad plumbing experience, a leak, most plumbers are like, ooh, this is awesome. You know what the actual, for the plumber, it's awesome, not awesome for the homeowner. But you know what the homeowner's biggest fear is in those moments?
What's that?
Can they get their house restored back to the way it was? And it's like pulling teeth. When you talk about frictionless, the plumber that I would want to do business with, and the one that I would think about immediately, would be the one that was showing me ads where damage was caused. And yes, they fixed it, but the end result was they also oversaw, or they lined up, my house looked like it was before it was damaged. And I know that's not the business that plumbers are in. They're not in the restoration business. But it's not difficult for them to make those connections and be like, we can take care of this whole thing for you. Right down to the restoration of this. We can handle this for you. Or at bare minimum, we can get them connected. Like, Shed and I just had all of our cabinets redone because one of our counters, one of our counters got just a random crack in it and it broke. And we got these counters replaced. They were absolutely beautiful. The one point of friction that literally I was like, this is stupid and frustrating, to the point where I don't even know if I want to do this now, Shannon. I can handle one little crack. Was they were saying, hey, we're not going to line up your plumber, and we don't know the exact date and all that, so you got to line them up. I got to line them up, and I'm missing these vital details. It's like, that's really annoying. And it's like, okay, well, fine. Well, I got a local air conditioning guy that I love to death. Oddly enough, I don't have a local plumber. So I'm like, now I got to find a plumber. Can I find a good one? All these things start lining up like that, right? At the end of the day, I just put my faucet in my garbage disposal because I have that skill. I'd rather have used a plumber. I would have rather have paid money for it. And it was more the headache of trying to find it. I'm going, why give a customer that headache? And there are many, many headaches that we leave our customers with, even if it's just not cleaning up. Literally not cleaning up after yourself. Ideally, if a technician goes in and services a furnace, don't leave a bigger mess. Clean up around that area. Vacuum out the interior. Make them walk up and open the doors and go, whoa. It didn't look like this before you got here. Because we always tell technicians that, you know what? They actually don't know how to judge if you did a good job. They know if it's working when it wasn't working. They judge a good job by how it looked when you're done.
Right.
Yeah,
How clean was your area? Did you take the time to wipe off the cabinetries? Like the air conditioning cabinet, the water heater, did you clean it up? They judge a good job by cleanliness half the time.
Well, Roy was talking about not having friction. What does a customer really want? Right? At the end of the day, the customer wants to not think about this.
I don't want to think about it.
I don't want to think about it, and it's like that's such an important promise. We'll leave it better than we found it.
I want to go make money
make sure you do
pay
that.
you to do it.
Right. Yeah. I want to know that I'm going to call, you're going to come, you're going to fix this, you're going to go away. I'm never going to know you were here. Mm-hmm. That's the ultimate frictionless experience.
This is another thing that happened last week, real life. So a year ago, Penny and I, in the town where we grew up, this house 2 doors down from the house we first bought together when we were kids. First house we ever bought together was 800 square feet after it had been added on to 3 times. And so it had never had a driveway because it had been there since Oklahoma was Indian territory. cars had not been invented when this house was built. It was built in Indian Territory before Oklahoma was a state. And so we had this little house. Now, 2 doors down was this much bigger, much nicer house, beautiful, kind of a landmark house, and we were proud to be 2 doors down from it. It came up for sale. So my wife bought it and made it a showplace. Now, the previous owners had put in a brand new big solar system. They should replace the roof first because it needs a new roof. Now, the solar system is so effective. The highest electric bill that they've ever had is $9.
Oh, wow.
It's just generating all the electricity this house needs. And so we decided we need this new roof, called this roofing company. The guy comes out, he's a good salesman. He gave us a price. I said, that sounds great. Now, what's it going to cost to remove the solar panels and change those? I wasn't having the conversation with him. My wife was. And he says, oh, no, you need to find the company that installed those and have them do it. And I said, bite me. And I said, we will find somebody else that will project manage this job for us. We don't live there. You're not handing off that job to me. I'm not project managing that. Hell no. Mm-hmm. I didn't say that to him. I said it to my wife, and she says, well, my husband said we're just going to keep looking for somebody that can project manage this for us and make sure that that happens. And he said, well, I'll look into that. And she said, great, I'll wait to hear back from you. He calls back and he goes, found a company. They do this all the time. This is the price they quoted me, and they will be responsible for taking it off and then putting it back up, connecting everything up, reinstalling it, and making sure it's working properly for this amount of money. And she said, so that amount plus what you're going to charge us is all that I have to pay? And he said, yeah. And she said, great, you've got the job. And so to sell that new roof at his asking price, we didn't even get any other quotes. She just goes, yeah, but we have this other problem. Well, you need to solve that. I ain't solving crap, buddy. Mm-hmm. We will find somebody in the crap-solving business if it's not you. Now, I didn't say that to him because my wife is sweet, and she kind of communicated, well, we're, 800 miles away or whatever the distance is. And
kind of the polar opposite of Roy.
Yeah. Well, the point is, I just said no. I said, tell him we'll just find somebody else.
Yeah.
He rose to the occasion. And he said, oh, I'll make some calls. I'll get back to you. He took on the task, sold the job. He might be making part of the money. It's $4,500 to have the thing uninstalled and reinstalled. Me, I don't care if he's getting it for half of that. I don't care how much he's making or not. I don't care. That amount of money plus the roof, great, problem solved, do it. Now that's called, I went with a frictionless deal. He didn't have a frictionless solution until I insisted on one. And then he suddenly had a frictionless solution. Can you imagine if you were known for being the roofing company that would take responsibility for uninstalling, and even if you didn't do it yourself, you're just going to take responsibility for it and include that in the price of the roof. How did he think we were going to buy a roof without having the solar panels removed and reinstalled? It's not a thing and we don't live there.
Yeah. Grow by being remembered in more buying situations, more category entry points. And category entry points, the more friction we can remove, the better off we are.
Sure.
And Charlie, you said grow by being remembered in more buying situations. That's your quote. I'm giving you that because it is your quote because it came directly from our conversation.
I remember that day.
Yeah. It was a good day. And Roy, Charlie actually handpicked all the ads today. Thank you for that, Charlie. The ones that we've done in the other 3 episodes.
Can I just say this about that, about being known for those things?
Yes, sir.
The size of your brand is determined by the number of the category entry points you're known for. To Roy's example, the guy's known as a roofer. Now he's known as a roofer who also handles the solar panels. The more category entry points you're known for, the larger your brand will grow.
Now, we're going to watch this ad segment, and then we're going to come back and pick this up. And here's the reason why, because if you hear what Charlie is saying, you're thinking to yourself, well, I got to be a plumber. I got to be an electrician. I got to be an air conditioning guy. We've already made that clear. You don't have to be that.
You have to be a problem solver.
That's what you have to be. So we're going to show you a product that is problem-solving central at its heart, and it pushed the company to being one of the most valuable companies in the world. And then we'll talk about it further.
This is not a watered-down version of the internet or the mobile version of the internet or the kind of sort of looks like the internet. It's just the internet. On your phone.
Listeners, that was the 2007 original iPhone ad. And if you want to watch one of the best presentations on the planet, go back and find the original introduction of the iPhone by Steve Jobs as he rolls out 3 brand new products that are going to go to public market: an internet browser, a phone, and a player for your music. And he keeps going over these. It's a browser for the internet. It's a phone. It's a place for your iTunes. It plays your music. And he keeps repeating. He goes, it's a browser for the internet. It's a phone. It's a player for your music. And he's letting that sink in. And he goes, are you getting it? We call it the iPhone. And he brought 3 ideas into one singular concept. And the room went bananas. Bananas. But he always had a greater, bigger vision. He knew that he was going to sell it as 3 things, but look at what it actually is. It's most everyone's real camera today.
Right.
It's most everyone's primary internet browsing system, entertainment system, phone,
Video
calculator,
camera. Not
video
just camera,
gaming.
but video camera.
Yeah, well, the really great movies have been shot on iPhones, right? It has layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of category entry points, and all they've done is go, we can just remove the friction. Well, in fact, we'll build an entire ecosystem called the App Store.
It's the ecosystem that makes it that. I mean, it's like I can answer calls on my watch because it's connected to that. You've got the same watch. It's the way that product happened. I mean, to really appreciate it, you have to kind of rewind your mind to 2007 when that ad played, right? And at that moment, what they were speaking to was the idea that there was this hinky kind of internet that BlackBerry was putting on phones, or you had like me, I was rocking a Palm Trio in those days, right? And you kind of had the internet, but it wasn't real. And he's saying, no, we're going to put all of these together in one thing. And then, to your point and to Roy's, think of all the friction he's removed in the fact that your music syncs to your computer. I take notes on an iPad mini that sync to my computer and my phone. Everything is all interconnected. It's the ultimate removal of friction.
I hold my finger up like this, and do you know why?
Why?
I still feel the pain, like the literal, not figurative, the literal pain of the ball from the BlackBerry.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was a power user.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And when I think about it, I still know what that little bruise feels like right in the palm of your thumb. It's like, so when that came out, I'm going, oh, what is this? And the BlackBerries, you scroll, and it's not the internet. It's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely getting that. So did you use a BlackBerry?
No, I was a Palm Trio guy.
Did you ever use one?
No.
Well, BlackBerry was the big competitor at the time. They were the one.
I want to make one last observation about Apple because it bears consideration.
Okay.
And the way this came up is I was talking to a good friend whose name we have mentioned earlier today, and we're talking about AI. I said, who do you think is going to win the race? And he talked about all the current players. And then he said, but don't count out Apple.
Mm-mm.
And I said, are they in the game? And he goes, I don't know. But Steve Jobs was never the first to market with anything.
Nothing.
He didn't care that somebody else got there first and had first mover advantage. He goes, yeah. You know what wipes out first mover advantage? Dramatically superior customer experience. If you can deliver a dramatically experienced customer experience. And how do you deliver a dramatically experienced customer experience, gentlemen? You remove the
Friction.
and that is a dramatically superior customer experience. So the connectivity is a way of removing friction. You don't have to do all these things and transfer all these things. It's automatic, built into the system. And so their planning and their product perfection, yeah. Other people have been doing this for 5 years. They're huge established brands. We're just going to go and blow them all away. Just puff of smoke, and they're just disappear, and they're now extinct because our thing was so much overwhelmingly better than theirs.
So there's one that's even more extinct. Remember when Nokia was the #1 cell phone in the world? Remember them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they came along and leapfrogged everyone, and they do that again and again. And it's been instructive to a lot of other companies to do that. That first mover advantage is vastly overrated if you can come up with that better experience. And in every case,
it's not just incrementally better.
No, it's by
orders of magnitude. Yeah,
exactly. And where this begins is not in how do we make a better phone. No, it begins in the strategic level of what do we want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
What would the customer like to have they do not currently have?
Well,
right.
I'll tell you where I think Apple will have the potential biggest advantage to win. And it's very simply in how they're building it out. Installed base.
Yeah.
All the other ones are. No, you're right.
There.
No, you're totally right. All the other ones are using a cloud server, and they're getting access to your IP, and they're not protecting it. You put it in there, they have it. Apple is going to know we've always been the security company. Your AI is going to live in your base. It's not going to be connected to the cloud. It's your information. It knows your information, and we're not stealing it. No one else is stealing it. And not only that, but when it's connected to their base, you want your AI agent to do simple things, talking about frictionless. You want it to manage your calendar. It's going to be able to do that. You want it to address emails and categorize them, answer them like you. It's going to be able to do that. One of the things I'm looking forward to is I am currently terrible at file management. I have files, but I've got so many files on top of files on top of files that I don't know where half of my stuff is. It's going to sort that, and it's going to do it better than a human ever could.
Right.
That is the sort of thing that I'm excited about AI for. So that is where Apple is going to live and win, is because this will be an AI without having to be connected to the cloud, and that's going to be powerful.
The thing that I think we need to underscore is we took off on this whole tangent by talking about there's two ways to be in business. To be the low-cost provider that the transactional customer finds, and because they hire you because you're cheapest. Or you're the company that makes it so easy that it's like you call these people and your problem disappears, and it's just effortless, and there's no awkward moments, and there's no big decisions to be made, and it's just like, okay, wow, that's magic. And so, which brings up 1-800-GOT-JUNK. So I talked to Brian Scudamore quite a lot. He's always owned the company outright. There's never been any investors. He doesn't owe anybody any money. He just owns it outright. It's a billion-dollar company. And he says, yeah, the reason that we've worked together so incredibly well is I met him, spent an evening with him, and then the next day told him things about him that he said, my God, you've been talking to my mother. I said, no, I hadn't. I didn't even know your mom was still alive. He goes, really? You've not been talking to my mom? I said, no. He said, how could you possibly know all these things? I said, dude, it shines out of the pores of your skin. And I said, this is the one thing I understand about you, and I will make sure that everybody else understands this. You believe in the goodness of people. You believe in happiness. You believe in trust. You believe in good outcomes. And you do not like to dwell on frustration or pain or anything. And I said, for me to be on brand and to be advertising the company that you want to own and do own, and you viciously protect this. I said, you know what you're protecting? I said, in marketing, we talked about world building a couple of episodes ago, world building, this world. I never described the frustration of the problem, the pain of the problem, awkward moments, or embarrassment. I never talk about it. We put on booties so they won't track dirt in the house. I never say that. You know why? I don't want people to imagine dirt being tracked in the house. I said, oh, we're real careful when we carry stuff down the stairs so we don't bump the walls. I don't want to make them imagine bumping the walls. I want them to imagine we called these companies, we pointed, and the junk disappeared. That's it. And I said, and so we never actually show people carrying junk. We never actually show people in your home. We just they show up at the front door and you point and the stuff disappears. It's like.
It's the outcome.
It's the outcome. And so what happens is removing all awkwardness, only happy outcomes, never frustration, never awkward moments, never pain, never anxiety. So we never ever, there will never be an ad that says, oh, look at all this junk. What are we going to do? Nope. That ain't never going to happen. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Now, most people think you need to describe the pain and the frustration so that you can solve it. And I'm going, no, you don't. And I'm going, to serve that man and the manner he prefers to be served, I'm going to show nothing but a happy outcome and a frictionless experience, because that's everything he lives for. And any company he ever owns, it's about that perfect, painless, frictionless, happy outcome. Everybody's happy all the time. People are always good, believe in everyone. And it's like sunshine and roses. And I'm going, that isn't me, but it's him. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you guys?
It makes perfect sense.
And now all of a sudden, every ad you ever see on TV or here on the radio will make sense to you.
Sure.
Because I'm going, yeah, we never describe the pain or the frustration of the problem. We only describe the joy and pleasure of suddenly the outcome you wanted just instantly happens. There it is.
That's great.
What makes sense about it is that fame is built on happiness.
Yeah.
And he is totally committed to happiness.
Yeah.
And when you listen to those ads, you never felt so good about junk.
Right.
I mean, it's just, and he is a fluent device to those ads. The truck is a fluent device.
Absolutely.
The iconic truck cannot be duplicated. In fact, when you see somebody knocking off that truck, you think, oh, they're trying to be like 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
It's a purpose-built truck.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well said, gentlemen. Charlie, this is our last episode. We did 4 episodes together. I think they all can stand on their own, and a listener can take them as their own. But I just want to take a moment and say, man, I really, really deeply appreciate the amount of energy and effort you put into helping Roy and I prepare this episode. I think it's super valuable for the listeners. And listeners, if this is the one you caught today and you didn't hear the other 3, go back and listen to the other 3. They're all great. So, Charlie, really appreciate you being here.
I can't thank you enough for having me. It's been a joy sitting down with you guys, and just honored to have had the opportunity to be here. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Roy, thank you.
Thank you.
Over these 4 episodes, Charlie, Roy, and I have given you a complete picture. Build a coherent funnel where every tactic speaks the same language. Tell a brand story that deepens over time without losing the soul. Refuse to be ordinary, because boring is the most expensive thing that you can be. And above all, stop talking about yourself. Start talking about the moment the customer needs you. So, where does it hurt, baby? Answer that question memorably, boldly, and at every level of the funnel. And you won't need to chase customers, because they're going to come to you. Because when you speak to the dog in the language of the dog, about what matters to the dog starts listening. If you like what you've been hearing, subscribe to Todd Liles and the Wizard of Ads. And if this 4-part series with Charlie Moger changed how you think about your marketing, then share it with your team. Start with the first episode and work your way all the way through. And for today's show notes, visit toddliles.com/wizard.
You've been listening to Taco Tuesday, Todd Liles and the Wizard of Ads, where the bold win and the remarkable reign. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit follow in your podcast app so you never miss a conversation. And if you want a copy of the show notes or watch the ads from today's show, head over to toddliles.com/wizard. This episode was made possible by the generosity of our host, Roy H. Williams and Todd Liles, and the support of our clients. This episode was produced and edited by Alex Walker, sound designed by Devin Wright and Dave Nevlin. Our social team includes Joshua Entis, Alexa Miladinovich, and Hani Assad. Additional production support from Letty Deaver. This episode is dedicated to the business owners who refuse to be ordinary.